Hey kids, Pastor Jerry here. I'm so glad that you have joined me today for this new object lesson that we're going to look at today. And today we're going to be talking about miracles and magic. And so I hope you're having a great week. I hope things are going well for you. I hope you're figuring out school online and all that crazy stuff if you're having to do that. I hope you and your parents aren't driving each other crazy too much as we move into this next week of being at home and not being able to do our normal routines. But we're going to talk about something really exciting today, and that is miracles and magic. And you know, magic has been around forever. I love magic. I love watching magic shows and watching guys do magic tricks. I think it's amazing how they can figure things out. Or if you ever seen guys do card tricks where they can determine the card that you picked and all these different things. It's really a lot of fun sometimes to watch people perform magic tricks and perform illusions. And it's a lot of fun. I always enjoy that. I always try to figure out how they're doing the trick and all those kinds of things. But magic really is just for fun. It's just a part of entertainment. Miracles, on the other hand, are different. There's a huge difference between magic and miracles, right? There's a huge difference there because miracles are something that is a direct result of God doing something or intervening on somebody's behalf or doing something special for someone. And that's what it's for. It's a life changer. Magic, on the other hand, it's just for the moment and it's just for fun. And you know that there's some kind of deception in there somewhere. There's some kind of trick happening to make it look like something that is impossible is really happening. So miracles are the real deal, and magic, well, it's just a slick trick. Here, let me show you what I mean. I have this box here. It's just a shoe box, right? It's there it is, and it's just a simple box, but yet it's a magic box. And I'm going to show you how that works. Have you ever heard of something like a magic box before? I know that when I've watched magicians perform, they usually have some kind of magic box sitting there. They might pull a bunch of different things out of it that you could not possibly fit in there, or all kinds of crazy things, right? So this is my box that I'm going to be using today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I can take this box and I can put it out over the edge of the counter here that it's sitting on, and it won't fall over. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to do it by changing the way its dynamics work, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two books that I have, I'm going to place them on this side of the box over here. And so it's going to add weight to this side of the box. And so what we're going to do is we're going to very slowly ease this box out over the edge of the counter, and we're going to see if it falls over or if it stays on top, even when gravity should take over and have the box fall over. So let's try that right now. So we're going to start out here. We're just going to start slowly moving it. So it's a little bit over. Box isn't going to fall off because most of the weight of the box is on the counter, right? Let's move it out a little bit further. What about now? No, it's a little less than halfway out. Still, most of the majority of the box is over here on this side. So let's move it out just a little bit further. Now we're just about halfway, right? Still, the box is sitting there just fine, no problem. And it's still going to continue to hold. The gravity's going to hold it on the counter. Well, let's move it a little bit past center. Let's do a little bit more. Okay, right there. Yeah, the box is more than halfway off of the counter. The books are laying right on the line there. But let's just be a little bit more adventurous. Let's see if we can push it out just a little further. Yeah, look at that. It's still holding. And we can push it out all the way to about right there. Look at that. That box is just going to sit right there. No problem at all. And how do we know that, right? Because the weight of the books is holding the box onto the counter and not letting it fall off. There it is, magic box. Pretty cool trick, right? But you might be saying, Pastor Jerry, if you take off the books, the box will fall over. Well, actually it won't, because now that I've put these books on here, it's going to know that that weight is there and it's going to automatically balance itself, whether the books are on there or not. What do you think? You think that's how it's going to work? Well, let's try it out. Let's see. I'm going to take the books off of the box and see if the box will still sit there. All right, so I'm gonna start with the first one, just one at a time, not both at the same time. Here we go. Taking that off slowly. I'm gonna put my hand here just in case it wants to fall. Slowly take off the book and look at that. It's still holding on. The box still is gonna work. Isn't that a pretty cool trick? I think it's a cool trick. I think it's pretty awesome. I'm not much of a magician, but that's pretty cool. So what do you think? Should I take off the other box? Or excuse me, should I take off the other book? That might just, might cause some catastrophe to happen. We might see the box fall. Well, let's just try it and see. Again, I'm gonna slowly move the book. Slowly, I'm gonna make sure the box doesn't fall. Taking it off, look at that, it's not even teetering. What is going on? Look at that. The box is moved. No, excuse me, the box hasn't moved at all. The books are off. Look at this, there's nothing here. I gotta move the garbage can out of the way. See, there's nothing holding up. The box is just sitting right there. That's a pretty awesome thing. Look at that magic box. Isn't that incredible? I think it's incredible. And I'm not much of, like I said, I don't do magic. So that's pretty awesome, I think. So how can that box sit up there without falling off? Now I know some of you guys and girls out there are super smart. You know something here isn't right, because there's no way Pastor Jerry could do this, right? There's no way I can do this. Well, guess what? You are right. It's just an illusion. It's just a trick, right? It's just something that we can do. And what did I do? How did I make this happen, right? What did I do? Well, inside the box, of course, there's a weight. There's a brick in the box. You see, it's just a trick. So if I were to take this box and I would put it out here, no problem. Put a little further, no problem. But then as we go past center and the weight changes, gravity takes over and the box would fall to the floor. But if I put the brick back in and we set it there like that and we put it out there, look at this. We can take the box all the way out to about right there and the box won't fall off. So that is just a magic trick, right? But miracles are something more than just something for the moment, just for some fun entertainment, just for someone trying to trick us to think that something that can't happen does happen. And I don't know all the different ways and things that magicians do their tricks. I always find it fun and exciting, like I said. But miracles are such more important. Miracles were and are an awesome display of God doing something very special for people. You know, when Jesus performed his miracles in the New Testament, he made the blind to see and he made people who couldn't walk again. And God did some amazing things in the Old Testament. And people's lives were changed and hearts were changed. You know, magic is for the moment, but miracles are forever. And I want to look at two examples, one from the Old Testament and one from the New Testament, about miracles that God performed. And so real quick, I want to take you back to Daniel chapter 3. And Daniel chapter 3 is the story of three Hebrew children, three Hebrew young men named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were guys from Israel, from Jerusalem, who had been captured by the Empire of Babylon, and they'd been taken back to the main capital of the Empire of Babylon, called the city of Babylon, and they lived there. And they were raised there as young teenage boys into young men, and they served the king of Babylon, whose name was Nebuchadnezzar. And so Nebuchadnezzar has to go through all these different things to really find out who the one true God is, and this is one of these stories. So if I would encourage you to read Daniel chapter 3, the whole thing, but I just want to share with you a few verses out of there. And it says in verse chapter 1, in Daniel chapter 3, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold whose height was about 60 cubits and its breadth was about 6 cubits. And he set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. And then King Nebuchadnezzar sent together all the important people, all of the people that served in his government, and he brought them to have a big meeting. And he says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to say this. I want you to command in verse 4, the herald proclaimed aloud, you are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of all these different musical instruments, the horn, the pipe, the lyre, the trigon, the harp, the bagpipe, and every kind of music, You're to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So that's what he wants everyone to do. When you hear the music playing, you got to look towards this big gigantic statue on this plain, and you have to worship it. And it was a big statue made in his own image. And so that's what he wants everyone to do. And so when the music plays, all these people bow down and they begin to worship this image, this big gigantic statue. Except for these three young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They do not do that. Why? Because they only worship the one true God. And so other people see that they're not doing this, and they come and they tell the king. And so the king calls the guys out, calls them to meet with him. He says, listen, I'm asking you, if you have not done this, that you better do it. Because if you don't, I'm going to throw you into a fiery furnace. Because that's what he directed. If people don't worship this image, then you're going to be thrown into this furnace and burned. So he tells them that, and this is what they tell him back in verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, and you throw us into this furnace, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. Now this makes King Nebuchadnezzar very angry. And so it says in verse 19, the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he ordered the furnace heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. And whenever you see something like this in the Bible where it says the king's face changed or his countenance changed, it means something really bad is about to happen. Something really serious is going to happen. And kings were all powerful in those days, and man, whatever they said, you had to do it. And so he heats this furnace up super hot. It says that it was so hot that that the guys that threw him in the furnace, that threw those 3 men in the furnace, died from the heat, from the exposure of the heat to that furnace. And so they're in there. And then it says, down in verse 24, then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up in haste, and he declared to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men into the fire? And they answered and said, true, O king. And he answered and said, but I see 4 men unbound walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the appearance of the 4th is like the son of the gods. And so God protected Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in an impossible way. That wasn't a trick. That wasn't magic. That was a miracle. And so we see God perform these miracles throughout all of the Old Testament. And like I said, get your parents together. Why don't you read this whole chapter 3 of Daniel. It's great. Now let's move to the New Testament, and let's look at the book of John and chapter 9. And this is Jesus now. And we're going to read starting in verse 1. It says, and as he passed by, he saw a blind man from birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus says, it is not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world. And so Jesus here is declaring himself again that he is God's son. And so there was a thought in the days that Jesus lived that if someone had some kind of physical ailment, like blindness, that somebody in his family or her family had sinned against God, and so the result of that was a physical disability like being blind. And Jesus says to the disciples when they ask him this question, no one sinned in his family. This guy is blind so that I can show you that I am who I say I am, that I am the Son of God. And in verse 5 it says, after he said these things, he spit on the ground and made mud with the saliva, and then he anointed the man's eyes with the mud and said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam. And or Siloam, yeah, that's how it says. And so he went and he washed and he came back seeing. And so his eyes were opened and he was able to see. And Jesus performed that miracle to show other people who he was. And of course there was a bunch of debating, and the the Pharisees and the religious leaders, they were debating whether or not he was of God, that he came from God and all these different things. But this man was able to see, because God, through Jesus, through his deity being who he was God, was able to heal this man of his blindness. And so those things, how God delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and how Jesus healed this blind man, these things changed people's lives. Really, at the end of the day, does my magic box change anybody's lives? No, it's just for fun. But the miracles that Jesus performed was to show that he was the Son of God and to make a dramatic impact on the lives of the people that he touched. And even today, God still does miracles. He still heals people that are sick. He still does some things to show us that he is who he says he is. Maybe you know that. I mean, I've known people in my life who've had cancer or who've had other diseases, that God has touched their bodies and he's healed them physically right here on earth. And it's been amazing. We've been able to celebrate that. And he still does that to remind us of who he is at times. And so we're thankful that God performs miracles, that God shows us that he loves us and cares about us, even to the point at times healing somebody like Jesus did with this blind man. And so I hope you're encouraged today. I hope it was a kind of a fun experiment to show you that the difference between magic and miracles. Magic is just a trick. Miracles are life-changing events that change people's lives. And so I hope you have a great week. Don't forget, we're going to be doing another lesson for this upcoming Sunday on the life of Christ. So be sure you check that out Sunday morning. I hope you have a great rest of the week. If it's not raining, maybe you can get outside and play a little bit today. I just hope that these things are encouraging you. So have a great day. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.